Imagine having the ability to look at the food you eat and be able to see the caloric value, but also the nutritional value. Imagine being able to eliminate the guesswork of how many calories you should be eating, how many grams of protein, carbs, and fats, and be able to make smarter food choices on autopilot. This is what happens when you master the skill of keeping a food diary. And the best app for this, in my opinion, is MyFitnessPal. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to use MyFitnessPal so you can track like a pro, so you can achieve your health and fitness goals and become the best version of yourself. Because you can't be the best version of yourself if you're not healthy, and you can't be healthy if you don't master your nutrition. So let's get into it, guys. MyFitnessPal has a both premium and paid version. And look, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I downloaded the app MyFitnessPal over 10 years ago. So some of the features that are premium now, fortunately for me, are actually still free. The early bird gets the worm. If you're new to this, look, I would highly recommend downloading the app, giving it a go, trialing it for yourself. And if you can do everything you need to do on the unpaid, that's completely fine. But obviously the premium has some better benefits. So the first thing you're gonna do after downloading the app is fill out your personal details, your name, your age, your weight, your goals, etc. So you can do this by yourself, super easy, you know your details. Once you're in there, this is where we're gonna start. One thing I recommend is to not use MyFitnessPal's recommendations for calorie and macronutrients. From my experience, it always gives you a way too low recommendation. For a tracking app, it's great, but for an actual calorie and goal setting app, it's terrible. When it comes to weight loss, which is why most people begin tracking in the first place, you want a gradual decrease in calories. And the slowest approach is often the best approach. Dropping your calories insanely low right at the start is a good way to plateau quickly. So a gradual approach is always the best approach. So what I would recommend instead of using MyFitnessPal's recommendations is using an online calculator. I have a free online calculator on my website. I'll link that in the bottom below. And I'd recommend just typing in your details there to work out your maintenance calories. And then from there, creating either a 10 or 15% calorie deficit to start. So how to do that is obviously once you work out your maintenance calories, times it by 0.1 or 0.15, and that 10% or 15% deficit is your starting calories. Once your calorie goal is set, from here you want to set your macronutrient ratios or your macronutrient goals. So how to find this, if you click those buttons, it'll send you to macronutrient and profile ratios. The first thing you want to set, which is the most important macronutrient, is protein. The protein you want to be having anywhere from 1.5 to 2 grams per kilo of body weight. So if you weigh 60 kilos, your starting protein would be 90 kilos minimum, or all the way up to 120, which is 2 grams per kilo of body weight. And then from here, the remainder ratios or macronutrients can be distributed to either carbs or fats. And generally what you can do in terms of fat is that you can have 1 gram per kilo of body weight. So again, if you're 60 kilos, 60 grams of fat to start, and the remainder will be from carbs. But once your protein is set, which is again, the most important macronutrient, it doesn't really matter what you do with your carbs and your fats. If you want a high carb, you can do that. If you want a low carb, high fat, you can do that too. So as long as you stay within your calories, hit your protein, the ratio between carbs and fats doesn't really matter in terms of dropping body fat. One thing I would recommend turning off is tracking your steps in the MyFitnessPal app. You can track it outside of that, but I wouldn't link your steps to the MyFitnessPal, and I wouldn't link my workouts, because what's going to happen is that if you get extra steps and you get a workout in and you link it with MyFitnessPal, what it's going to do is recommend that you eat those calories back. So for example, if you burn 500 calories through walking and exercise, the MyFitnessPal is actually going to give you plus 500 calories that you can eat. So if you want to lose weight, that's terrible, all right? You're either going to maintain or you're going to gain weight, because you want to create a calorie deficit. So you want to be eating slightly less calories than you are burning. If you just re-eat the calories that you burnt, you're going to maintain, and if you eat more, you're going to definitely gain. So do not link your steps and your workouts to the MyFitnessPal app. So turn this feature off as well. Use the app purely just on nutrition and tracking your calories and macronutrients do not link it with your workouts. 99% of your usage is going to come from diary alone. This is where you're going to add the food that you eat, track your calories and macronutrients. So all the other things on the dashboard don't really mean anything. Most is going to come from the diary alone. Diary. Here is where you can track your total calories and calorie goal for the day. It's going to show you how much food you consumed, how much food you have left, and it's also where you can add your meals or the food that you're going to be eating. As you can see is that when you click add food, there's a history. Looking at the app, this is every single thing that I've ever eaten while using the app. All the foods that I've eaten are in this history. And you can adjust this to most recent or most frequent. It doesn't really matter, whatever you prefer. So let's get into tracking, okay? So you're gonna go to diary, you're gonna click add food, and then you have all the kind of search bars and everything at the top. You have a barcode scan, you have search bar where you search the MyFitnessPal database, and then you also have add meals, add recipes. So we're gonna break down each individual one. The first one I'm gonna go through is the barcode scan. So the barcode scan is free for me, but unfortunately, if you've just recently downloaded the app, it's a premium feature. So it's pretty self-explanatory, guys. If the food that you are currently eating or you want to eat has a barcode, if you use MyFitnessPal to scan the barcode, it's gonna show up on the MyFitnessPal database. And this is a key feature which makes tracking so much easier. And I'm fortunate that I downloaded it when I did, because if everything that you're reading has a barcode, you can automatically log it in after one scan. One thing that I would kind of highlight is that you want to make sure that what you scan on the barcode matches what it shows in the database. Turn what it is that you're scanning around, read the actual label, and make sure that it matches on the actual MyFitnessPal database. Sometimes it's actually off a couple of calories, a couple of grams. So you want to make sure that everything that you see matches and you get the serving size correct. If it doesn't match, occasionally it won't, but 99% of the time it does match, but you might have to manually add item yourself to suit the barcode. And what I would recommend, especially if you're new to it, guys, is have a bit of fun with it. Start scanning some of your favorite foods. So when you can see the nutritional value and the calorie value, it's going to open your eyes and eliminate the guesswork. You're going to know exactly how much you're eating. You're going to know what foods to continuously include that are going to fill you up with the right protein, carbs, and fats, the right nutrients. And you're also going to know which foods to avoid that are just, very high calorie dense, and they're going to make you go over your calories. It's fun. When I first got it, I do remember scanning almost everything that I was eating. It gets quite addictive. But what if it doesn't have a barcode? And this is a good thing, actually. What you want to do is fill your diet or make sure that the majority of the food you eat is whole food. So if everything you eat has a barcode, everything you eat is packaged, it's probably not ideal. You want to be eating fresh produce whenever possible. This will look like fruits, vegetables, meats. Not everything is going to come perfectly packaged, and that's a good thing. So that's why another feature, if it doesn't have a barcode, is the search bar. MyFitnessPal has one of the largest databases online. It's one of the first apps. So what you would do if it doesn't have a barcode is simply grab your phone, type in specifically what it is that you're going to eat. So for example, if you write apple, most fruits don't have a barcode on them. They might not always scan. So just simply type in, be as specific as possible. Rather than just writing apple, write the color and then choose the size. If it's a small, medium, large. If you eat a large apple and you choose a small size, it's going to throw off your calories just a little bit. Especially with fruit, they come in all shapes and sizes. So you want to make sure, and banana is another example. You can have a small, medium, large banana, and just choosing a different size can drastically change the calories based on the size. A tip when you're using the search bar, anything with a green tick next to it is certified. And what you want to do is try to choose the options within that kind of first couple of pages. If you're scrolling 20 pages in, it's an item that's not frequently used. Always look for the certified and always choose an item within the first couple of pages. Another tip for when using the search bar, you want to be as specific as possible. Let's say it's the weekend and you order a pizza. Rather than just saying pizza, be specific on the type of pizza. Where you got it from, Domino's pizza, large, meat lovers, rather than just a generic pizza. So you want to get as specific as possible in tracking what it is that you're currently eating. Everyone makes pizzas differently, different brands, different chains. So you want to get as close to what it is that you are currently eating as possible to give yourself the most accuracy when tracking. A couple of hundred calories with every single meal is the difference between you losing and not losing weight. Continuing on with the search bar, let's say you're reading out. And this is, again, another difference between when you prepare your own meals and when you don't prepare your own meals, because it's much easier to track everything when you're preparing your own meals because you know all the ingredients in it. And I'll talk about that soon. Let's say you're at a restaurant and a party and you have no idea what you're currently eating. So you're gonna have to use the search bar again, because obviously it won't have a barcode. What you can do, and what I like to do, is take a picture of the food and do it later. You can track your food later. I don't want you to be out in a social event on your phone obsessing about what you're eating. So take a picture, save it for later. When you get home in your own time, look at the picture and look at the ingredients in it. Again, write the specific, red sauce pasta, meatballs in spaghetti. Be as specific with the ingredients as possible. If it's a popular restaurant or a chain, state where you got it from. If you go to a certain Italian restaurant, most of the time, especially if it's a popular chain, MyFitnessPal will have the specific restaurant. For example, my regular things when I eat out on the weekend could be Guzman and Gomez, the Mexican. So I'll actually type in Guzman and Gomez enchilada chicken, and then I'll actually specifically find it. Rather than just writing enchilada, very broad, I write Guzman and Gomez chicken enchilada, and I try to find something within that first couple of pages. Or if I go to the pub, I order a chicken schnitzel, I write chicken schnitzel, and I look at the first page and I look at all the sizing and I try to find the kind of average size. And another thing, don't cheat yourself. Don't choose the lowest calorie, okay? Because the reality is, most of the time when you're logging your food, it's going to be the medium to higher calorie option. And when eating out in restaurants and bars and cafes, etc., always add oil and butter, because most of these places add a lot of oil and butter. That's why the food tastes so nice, guys. And another reason why it's a lot easier to cook and prepare your own meals, which is what I recommend and what I do most of the time, is that you can control how much oil and how much butter. Also with the sauces, guys, let's not forget the sauces. Are you overwhelmed yet? It sounds very hard, right? It sounds, but look, it's just like anything. The first time you do it, it's gonna suck. Building a new habit, trying to be healthy, especially if you've been unhealthy and you've had bad habits for such a long time, it's gonna suck. It's gonna feel uncomfortable. It's just like any new skill that you're trying to build. But what you'll notice is that every day, every week, every month of consistently tracking, it's gonna get easier and easier and easier until it becomes second nature. And that's exactly what we wanted to do. When was the last time you did something for the first time and you're good at it? Never. Every time you start something, it's always hardest at the start. You're gonna suck at it, and just start tracking with that in mind. You know that it's gonna be very hard the first initial days, weeks, months, but once you get past that, it's gonna become so much easier, and you're gonna get all the benefits, because you're gonna be able to look at food and make the smartest food choices. You're gonna be able to intuitively eat. And this is what we wanna do. We wanna be able to scan the menu, look at the food we're eating, and automatically calculate what we need. And then you can make smarter food choices. You know that if you have a big meal here, you can cut it back later. So I've tracked consistently for 5-10 years. I don't even need to track anymore. I just look at food and I know how much I've eaten. That's the kind of knowledge and experience you want to get. Intuitive eating is the end goal. Tracking is the starting point. Key feature in MyFitnessPal is adding meals. Okay, so if you don't want to add every single ingredient all the time, you can do a bulk add called adding meals. So 3 or 4 times a week, I have the same lunch. I have a steak, I have veggies, I have eggs, I cook it in ghee. What I do is I add each individual thing, one item at a time. But if you're lazy and you want to do this as fast as possible, to me, it doesn't really bother me. But if you want to do it as quick and as efficient as possible, and you know that you're going to eat that meal multiple times a week, you can add a meal specific to you and you can add it all in one go. So the first time doing this, all you're gonna have to do is, like I said, list every single ingredient you put in, including, the vegetables, the eggs, the oil you use, etc. You can even customize this with your own name. You can add your own picture, but instead of adding it individually every time, you can just go back into add meals, click on the meal that you're going to have, that you have consistently, and making sure that the ratios and the measurements are always the same. Click add the meal, does it all in one go. So easy. You add it once and then you never have to add it individually ever again. Add recipes. So the same thing goes with the recipe. If you want to add a recipe into the database, also note, guys, that if you add a meal, you can make it public or private so everyone else can use it, or you can just use it for yourself. It doesn't really matter, but you can add recipes. So one thing that I used to eat regularly was spaghetti bolognese, and I created a recipe on MyFitnessPal with the ingredients, the method, everything similar to adding meals. Rather than adding each individual ingredient over and over again, I just created a recipe and I added the recipe whenever I had that meal. So I just simply click Michael's bolognese. I divided up the actual ratios. I included the full ingredients list, and I used to have this meal spread over 3 to 4 days. So I would add everything in a whole and then divide it by 4, and that was each specific meal of the serving size that I would have. Here are some extra tips to have you tracking like a pro. Number 1, use a food scale for accuracy. Tracking and using a food scale goes hand in hand, bread and butter. What you want to do is grab a food scale, place an empty plate onto the food scale, zero it out, and then obviously it just empties out the weight. And from here, you just want to add specific foods on there. What I would recommend, and this is what I personally do, is that I always measure cooked instead of raw. Because once you cook a food, especially with your meats, your chickens, your beefs, it loses a lot of moisture. So I like cooking everything first and then measuring it cooked, not raw, because the weight is going to be completely different. It doesn't really matter because you're still going to get the same amount of protein. It's just the weight ratio is going to be completely different. Another pro tip is to pre-track your calories in advance. So if you know you're going to have XYZ, rather than doing it at the end of the day, do it at the start of the day. Get into the habit of this. You could pre-log your breakfast, lunch, dinner, take you less than 5 minutes once you get really good at it, and then you know what you're going to have throughout the day. It's nice and easy. You're not constantly on your phone during each meal, because you want to be present in the meal. And another reason why this is helpful is that if you know you're going to go out to a restaurant, you can look at the menu beforehand and you can select what you're going to eat and log it in to see if it fits your daily calories and see if you're going to hit your macronutrients for the day. So this is one thing that I love doing. If I know I'm going to a restaurant, I'll look at the menu, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to get steak and chips, pre-log that in. Then from that dinner meal or whenever that is, I can adjust my day accordingly. Let's say I know I'm going to have 1,000 calories in my dinner meal. All I would do is lower my calories for breakfast or brunch or lunch, etc. An advantage of tracking everything in advance is that you can organize your day better. And it's these little extra things like pre-planning your meals that separates people who get amazing results and people that don't. So the more organized you are, the more time efficient you are, the better your results are going to be. And pre-planning your meals is a pro tip for anyone who's keeping a food diary and using MyFitnessPal. A common question I get from clients who are new to weight loss and want to make the most out of their tracking is, what if I go over my calories? So the reality is you are going to go over your calories, because some days naturally you're going to want to eat more, some days you're going to naturally want to eat less. And one common mistake that most people do is that they over-prioritize the day-to-day calories, when in reality, it's the weekly calorie consumption that is going to give you the best overall result. For example, let's say you do go over your calories on a certain day. It's Saturday night and you're supposed to eat 2,000 calories, but you've just consumed 3,000 calories. You freak out. What are you going to do? Instead of, trying to burn off your extra calories the next couple of days, throwing more cardio in, extra gym sessions, morning, night, etc., do nothing. Think of it as a day you ate more calories. Get back into your routine the next day. And what you can do is slightly decrease your calories over the next coming days, maybe by 100 to 200 calories, and just slightly increased your movement. You don't have to do extra cardio. You can just do a little bit of extra steps. So let's say an extra 2,000 steps on those the next 3 to 4 days after, a slightly decrease in calories, 1 to 200 calories the next couple of days after that. And eventually that extra surplus is going to balance out over the coming days. So view your calories as a weekly total rather than a daily total. And think of it as your total calories resetting every Monday. And I'll show you what this looks like on the app. Instead of clicking the daily view, click the weekly view. And if your total calories are under a weekly deficit, you are going to lose weight that week. It doesn't matter if you ate really high on XYZ days. If your weekly total is under your maintenance, you're going to lose weight. So that's a pro tip, guys. Seeing things weekly instead of daily. And again, this comes with planning. Planning for your week ahead of time instead of stressing about each individual day. The more organized you are, the better your results are going to be. So here are my final words on MyFitnessPal. Keeping a food diary, tracking your calories is one of the best things you can do for your health and fitness, and it's one of the best things you can do in terms of your nutrition. Like I said at the start of the video, it's going to take out the guesswork. Most people have no idea how much they're eating. They're just winging it. Unfortunately, you don't get amazing results by winging it. It doesn't happen by accident. The people who get the best results plan their meals. They eat intuitively. They choose the best possible options in terms of calories, in terms of macronutrients. They eat a balanced diet. They cook and prepare their meals. They don't just eat whatever food's there. And tracking your calories and keeping a food diary with MyFitnessPal, it's one of the best tools to help you on your fitness journey. It's solving a modern day problem with a modern day solution. And if you think about it, you're on your phone 24/7. The average person spends 3 to 4 hours on their phone. Why not use some of that time, instead of scrolling on social media, to use an app like MyFitnessPal and get amazing results in terms of your health and fitness? 5 minutes of tracking a day could be the insight that you need to completely transform your life, guys. So guys, if this video was helpful, I hope it is. Please give it a like. Please give it a comment. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, where I hope to provide you guys with more and more knowledge, because this is my belief, guys. Being healthy, being fit, making smart food choices with nutrition, and something as basic as tracking your calories, this information should be available to everyone, and it should be free. So guys, please like, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, guys. All the best on your fitness journey.